Greetings, Masterminders. We've got a really cozy group of me, Claude, and Carol tonight, but an amazing topic. I really enjoyed preparing it. So let's launch in. So we've been dealing with the third habit, which is raising necessity, and basically understanding that that has several forces or motivators, internal ones and external ones. The two internal ones being clarity, getting clarity on your own identity, your own goals, and the second part of that just being totally obsessed with what it is you want to achieve. And obsessed as in not unhealthy obsession that's going to destroy relationships and destroy anything that you've built up so far, but an obsession that means there's nothing that's going to stop you in reaching your end goal. And then the external factors have been things like social obligation, duty, deadlines, things like that, that really motivate you to achieve optimally. So we're dealing with kind of the fourth part of this whole way of developing this kind of habit. And what Brendan Borchardt says is any of these forces can really up your game, but if you bring them all together, you're pretty unstoppable. And I think we touched on this last time we chatted, that high performers are not afraid of necessity. So raising necessity is not an issue for high performers. They don't fear it, they actually love it. Because if it's not around, their fire is just embers. They lose their fire, they lose their motivation. And he says if you've actually lost your fire, you're not as consistent as you used to be, and then it's quite important to work through these four forces again. So first of all, clarify who you are and what you want to achieve. So if you find you've reached a bit of a plateau, these are quite good checks to go through. Clarify who are you? What do you want to achieve? What currently really identifies you? And then the second, are you really obsessed with that? Is that such an important reason or person you want to build into that nothing's going to stop you unless you achieve it? And usually the third sort of part of raising necessity is social obligation. It's when you feel like you're making a meaningful contribution to a person or to a cause, that's when your obsession is greater, and it's kind of more sustainable. And added to that, we need to add a sense of urgency. You can have all the other three, but there's not a sense of urgency. There's not going to be something that really pushes you to perform in a way others don't. So the urgencies are things like deadlines, accountabilities to choose your goals, those kinds of things. And if you've kind of hit a plateau, just to ask yourself, where in this process have you stopped having the motivation, the drive? And or who have you stopped really caring deeply about? Or what have you stopped really caring deeply about? And he says the bottom line is we change and improve over time only when we must, when the internal and external forces on us are strong enough to make it happen. Then we climb. And when it gets most difficult, we remember our cause. And when we're afraid and battling hardship and darkness, we remember we came in the cause of light, and we sustain positive performance over the long term. So in this end part of the chapter, there are three practices that can fire up necessity. We're going to do two, and I think that's all we're going to have time for. And the third one we will leave for next week. So can you believe it? We're on this habit for one more week. Okay, so the first one is, the first one we've really done already. It's know who needs your game. So we went through that. Who needs me on my A game the most right now? So when you sit down in your chair in the morning, which is something we all do, and it's something we do daily, and it's a simple thing. Think of that question or that thing. Who needs my A game the most today? And And the importance of that is that you get to be a little bit more focused. You get to prioritize. There's a sense of urgency. Somebody needs you. There's the social obligation. So it kind of ties in all those factors, just asking that one question. So who needs me on my A game the most right now? And then he goes into looking at the identity of high performers. So this is kind of what we're striving for. And he compares them to other groups of people. So he says high performers are not dabblers with a passing interest in the game of life, going from one focus and one activity to the next, sitting on the fence and never really committing to anything. So I think as we go through the identity of high performers, it's quite important to ask yourself the question, am I like that? Is this where I'm at right now in my journey to becoming a high performer? He says high performers are not novices who intend in developing expertise in a focused area. They've jumped in a little bit more than dabblers, but they're easily discouraged. So as soon as there's some kind of obstacle, then novices kind of change direction or hop off the process. And the main reason for that is because much of the identity is not in the fight. So the fight is not something that really defines them. So then he says we have the amateurs. So the amateurs are more invested, more focused, more passionate. They're really wanting to engage in the game of life and get better at it. They're able to get through those obstacles that the novices didn't. But unless they get skilled and successful fast, they often give up because they're not getting the positive affirmation they seek. So amateurs very much depend on the external validation to succeed, on the opinion of others as to whether they're achieving their goals, whether they're getting the financial rewards. All of those things are really important for an amateur. Then he talks about players. The players have passionate commitment and they have skill. They're very focused and persevering. And they teach themselves to master the game. They get to the top. They excel. They're happy. If they get the compensation for what they have chosen to excel at, they're getting the wealth, they're getting the recognition, the improved lifestyle, whatever it is that they chose to be in the game for. The problem with players, though, is that they really like rules and regulations. They're not very good at adapting. And when something changes, they don't see it as a challenge and adapt to it. They get very bitter. They get bitter that things aren't as they planned them to be. And they really don't like disruption or negative feedback. So they need a high degree of fairness if they're going to participate. And they just believe in the game and that it has to be won. So have huge strengths and usually are high achievers, but sometimes that achievement or that success is short-lived or doesn't last. Okay, now these are the characteristics he gives of high performers, and they're quite, I'll send them out in an email as well, or obviously you can listen to this video again. But these are quite important lists to hold on to and to ask yourself, does this describe me? And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you have a list that you know what you're aiming for. So high performers are like players with greater all-round necessity, skill, and team spirit. Okay, so they're not just in it for themselves, they're not just in it for one game, they're in it for the game, for the whole kind of all the aspects of the game and as a team. They play at a high level no matter whether there's recognition or reward, because the game itself is intrinsically rewarding and part of how they view their service to the world. Okay, so their identity is tied to the game or the process that's leading them to achieve a goal, but also to the team and who they're serving or the cause that they're serving. They don't want to master just one area of the game, but want to be known for the game itself. So, give an example. Don't want to just win a tender for, talking through my own experience, win a tender for an elephant conservation, but they want to see that and get a whole group of people on board to be interested in conserving elephants. And unlike players, they don't mind sharing the spotlight. They have a high degree of personal excellence, but also a high degree of duty to the team. They often become the go-to person in the process. And they stand out not only because they deliver exceptional individual performance, but because they make every person in their team better. They empower them, and through their influence, they really help everybody in the team to be the very best that they can be. Do you want me to go over that, or was I too fast?
I caught on that.
Did you get it? Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to challenge you to go back to the video if you didn't. Anything that sort of...
Pretty quick. It was pretty
quick.
I think, yeah, if one could sort of summarize, can you summarize it in a sentence?
Well, my impression is that a high performer isn't just self-involved. A high performer is very involved in achieving something for people or for a cause. And so it's not just about them. They're very accountable not only to themselves, but to others.
So, yeah, that's versus a player being winning a game.
Sure. And the player might be doing it for his family. He might be doing it for a lot of things, but not as expansively. And the player is really focused on improving himself to achieve those goals. Whereas the high performer will recognize that although they have to be the very best they can be and really perform optimally, they realize this cause or whatever it is they want to impact in life or in the game, it needs participation of other people as well. And it's also about, empowering other people to contribute and to be able to give of their best to make it.
It's quite a narrow line between the two, actually.
Can be. I suppose it depends on, especially if you like, for example, a high performer in a soccer team or a rugby team. Because then, you're having to work with a team, to be able to win the game. But maybe you would categorize those kind of people more as high. But at the same time, if they, for example, with soccer, the rules change. You do everything as a high performer would do, but at some stage, your physical capabilities run out. And the younger guys get brought in because you're over 28 or something like that. So you would then have
No, I'm just saying with soccer, you need to win the game, you need the support of your team. You can't win it on your own.
Sure. No, I agree. So in those kind of games, I would consider a player a high performer, but if they continue after they've played the game into being a high performer in other areas of their life or at other stages of their life, I think that's what would distinguish them as being a high performer or a player. So say, for example, like a lot of them do, well, not all of them, but some of them will go on to coach. Then they're not just playing the game, they're then coaching, and the coaching might be more expansive actually, because they might coach a lot of teams over a period of time, or a lot of teams in an area, just becomes more expansive than the single game or the single team. I don't know, that's how I see it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so Brendan Borchardt said, if you want to be a high performer, you need to choose to will yourself in that direction. It needs to be defined by you and become your identity every single day. You need to step into this every single day. A very big thing about high performers is it's continuous, it's consistent, it's over the long term. So if you're choosing to have a high performer identity, you'll have to immerse yourself fully in activities you've chosen to engage with as part of the process or part of the cause. You're going to have to stretch beyond your comfort zone and be consistent. So you've got to do what other people don't normally do. And you can't prance around thinking that you're good. You have to be authentic. You have to be the real deal. And he says, when you do that, when you really immerse yourself into this, when you will yourself into this is what you want to do and be, and you, a very important ingredient of that, which he really closes with, is you're going to become a high performer faster if you're doing this for somebody else, or if you're doing this for a cause, or because only you can contribute this into the world. And he says this kind of flow that develops, and again, this is quite an important checklist to see whether you are being a high performer. So the first one is that you have goals that are clear and challenging, but attainable. Okay, so I think that's important, the attainable part. So they're clear, they're challenging, but they're also attainable. Okay, you need to have strong concentration and focused attention. You can't be scattered and all over the place. You have to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and you have to stay concentrated and focused on that. And the thing that you're doing must be intrinsically rewarding. It must have meaning for you. Otherwise, you're not going to keep it up, especially when it gets challenging. And another characteristic is you lose self-consciousness a bit and you become serene. So you're not always worried about, what other people are thinking about you, although you would be accountable on that level, but you become serene. There's kind of a serenity, a peacefulness that's really a lot about being connected on an inner level. Everything seems to have integrity, seems to fit together. It's kind of like a meant to be feeling. And then the fifth aspect is time stops. You feel so focused and in the present that you lose track of time. So you're not like watching the clock thinking, oh my goodness, when is it lunchtime? You kind of just look up and you think, oh my goodness, it's 2:00 already. That kind of feeling. And the sixth one is you're getting immediate feedback on your performance. Hello, Wayne. Okay, so it's not like you are engaged in something and you have to wait a very long time to get some kind of feedback. You're so immersed in the activity and you're so involved that the feedback comes quite quickly. And then the seventh characteristic is that there's a balance between your skill level and the challenge presented. You know that what you're doing is doable, even if it's challenging. So it's not that you don't go out of your comfort zone a bit, but your skill level is appropriate for the challenge that you've set yourself. Then the ninth characteristic, you have a sense of personal control over the situation and the outcome. So you don't feel overwhelmed. You might feel challenged, but you don't feel overwhelmed. You don't feel out of control. You don't feel like things are happening to you. You feel like you have a choice about what's going on and how to problem solve if things need that. So just a sense of being a master of what you're doing, even if you're not perfect. And interestingly, I don't know why he said this, but it was an interesting comment. You stop thinking about your physical needs. Maybe that's because, you have this energy anyway, and the energy you have anyway is because you're taking good care of your health. And he says you stop thinking about your physical needs. And the last characteristic, you have the ability to focus completely on the activity at hand. Okay, so keep this list of conditions as a checklist. And he emphasizes again that serving others makes the flow more powerful. So look to be your best for others, find somebody or something worth fighting for. And if you stoke the necessity to be your best in order to help others, you'll hit high performance much faster, he says. Okay, so just to ground this a little bit and make it more of a reality, more of something that we'll put into practice, he has a couple of performance prompts. So the first one is just take a little bit of time to do this. The first question is, the people who need me to be on my A game at this point in my life are. Let's see if I can. Wayne, will you just, let's see if I can just. I can just mute everyone. Okay, there we go. All right, the next question is, the reasons each of these people cause or causes need me include. Okay, the third question. The reason I want to become a high performer for each of these people are. For me, I find that's quite similar to point 2. How are you finding that? I suppose it's a little bit different. Okay, no, it is different. Okay, fourth question. I know that I'm on my A game when I think, feel, or behave. Okay. The things that throw me off my A game are, okay, sixth question. I can deal more effectively with those things by. Okay, and the last one, a few reminders that I could set up for myself to be my best for people in life could include reminders. I think because we are doing this next week as well, the last part, the two other practices that help with raising necessity, I think let's just finish off with a little discussion on some of the answers that we've come up with for those prompts. So, anybody like to say the people who need you on your A game right now? Anybody like to contribute? Let me unmute everybody now. Okay.
From my side, it would be my parents and my mentee.
Parents and your what?
Mentee. I'm mentoring somebody.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. What are you mentoring them in, if I can ask?
They're trying to qualify to be an actuary.
Okay.
So I'm mentoring them in actual science and look after, comment on the work they've done and give them guidance.
Okay, awesome. Well done. Okay. Carol, do you want to say, well, you don't have to, but do you want to say who the people who need your A game right now?
Sorry, were you asking me?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, I'm a little bit unsure how to answer the first three because, and I don't know if this would be the correct answer, but I would actually say that I think it's myself.
Okay. No, I mean, I think that's completely fine. Because
you know, I think I need to be on my A game to take my business where I want to take it,
okay.
And because of that, you know, I'm the sort of it's going to be future people who are going to need me to be on my A game at the moment. Otherwise, it's not going to happen.
No, I think that's totally appropriate. I think, like, for example, when you're setting something up, you need to be the best you can be before you duplicate that.
Yeah.
So I think that's totally fine. And I think Jung said that, you know, that you have to be the best you can be so that other people can also learn to become the best that they can be. So I think that's totally fine. I said for me, my team, my crypto team, my children, and the aspects of my ecotherapy work, you know, so it's things like the Maasai, the elephant conservation, dolphin human interaction research. I don't know what that all would become under one umbrella. Anyway, my wilderness team, animals and humans. Okay, the second, the reason each of these people or causes need me include, I suppose, Carol, you could say the reason I need to be like this for myself includes.
Well, it's because I need to build. I need to build what I'm building at the moment. I need to build a business. So, yeah, that's why they would need me to be on my A game now, because in the future, if I'm not on my A game now, I'm not going to build anything. And if I build something, then
okay, so kind of like pioneering and setting down foundations, good structures.
Yeah, I sort of see that that's really what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. And for you, Claude?
For my parents, it would be financial assistance that they need. And for the mentee, it would be skills transfer that he needs.
Okay.
He's studying, but he doesn't have much work experience, so he needs a lot of the skills transfer.
Okay, so skills that come from being in the real field.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I just put down, I think those are quite nice and clear. I put down for my team for duplication and empowerment, for my children's support, for my ecotherapy involvement, support, education, enlightenment. And then the third, the reasons I want to become a high performer for each of these people are.
Well, that's why I sort of said that for me, the first three are almost sort of fall into the same.
All tie up with the similar answers. Yeah. Okay. And for you?
I don't really have anything to add to yeah, what I've said on the first two.
Okay. Claude, do you have anything to add on the reason why you'd want to be a high performer for these people?
I thought this was the same sort of answers as the second one. I couldn't think of something different.
I also thought that at first, and then I came up with, well, what do I want to do? Why do I want to duplicate, or why do I want to support? And so I came up with some other understandings, actually. So I came up with liberation. So I want to liberate others, for example, to be really good team builders or really good at business building in their own capacity, or liberate my children in all sorts of ways, maybe financially, maybe just having more capacity. And transformation, I think, is very much the strong word for the ecotherapy side of things. Create transformation in people, whether it is emotional healing transformation, whether it is conservationary outcomes, transformation in the way from what they are now to what they could be. Okay, and then the fourth one, I know that I'm on my A game when I think, feel, or behave. Anybody come up with any interesting answers for that one?
Well, I sort of know I'm on my A game when I'm not thinking, feeling, or behaving. I'm completely in the zone.
Okay, so
I only realized afterwards how effective I was.
Awesome, nice. That's a great feeling.
It is indeed. I'd love to. I'd love to rest in that feeling.
And then outcomes just say, "Wow, that was awesome." That's really cool.
Did I do that? Did I really do that? Wow.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And for you, Claude?
When I'm focused, calm, and determined.
Okay, nice. Nice characteristics. Yeah, I said when I'm being productive, when I'm getting results, and when I feel like I'm contributing. Okay, the things that throw me off my A game are,
Me, intimidation.
okay, what other people think.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
anything
believe
else?
me, it was.
Dramatic change. It shouldn't affect me, but things change dramatically. It tends to unsettle me. So.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, I said for me, distractions like holidays, which is a good distraction, visas, which is not a good distraction, a lack of urgency, when I'm not getting out of my comfort zone. Those are things that are a distraction for me. I can deal more effectively with those things by doing what? How would you, Carol, how would you deal effectively with intimidation?
Just getting focused, getting back to the basics, getting focused on my why, back to the first three questions. And generally when I do that, yeah, that gets me back in line. Because
what do you do?
Yeah,
what do you do to get focused? I mean, do you meditate? Do you write down a list of objectives? Do you just have your why written up on the wall and you read it again? What gets you refocused?
I think it's twofold. I think intimidation can come very quickly and very where you have to sort of think on your feet. I can be in a very present environment, and it can come as a complete curveball. So I don't really have the time to meditate and run off and go and group myself. So in that, sorry, what did you say?
Take space. You don't have time to take space. You got to you respond.
Yeah. If you're performing, if you're in the moment and you suddenly, and I suddenly feel very intimidated just by, what somebody says or what somebody does or somebody presents or whatever, and you just want to sort of, crumble into a little hole. It's a very for me just to really be authentic and be myself, because no one can take that away from me. I can't be anything than myself. If I'm trying to be something I'm not, then absolutely. So if you're authentic, and I try to be authentic, I try to be myself, and in that situation it doesn't really matter, because you can't really screw up if you're just being yourself. So that's how I reaffirm myself.
Great wisdom, because I think there's huge strength in vulnerability. Because
so it's fine, I can and learn to admit that maybe I don't know. I might be talking in front of a whole lot of people. They might ask me something, and I can't answer it. It doesn't matter if I can't answer it.
Sure.
And so to get a that and then two, in terms of a bigger picture where I feel intimidated and the classic, who the hell do you think you are and what do you think you're doing? And I'm actually battling with that at the moment, but I think it's for me it's important not to look at what other people are doing, and it's that's it. Just rock on your own path without being obviously stupid and self-indulgent and all of that. I'm not suggesting that in any way. Sure. But if you are going to break new ground, it's not going to be by doing what everybody else is doing.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's sometimes quite lonely being a pioneer. And
I don't think I'd call myself a pioneer, but it's just more.
You're a pioneer. You're a pioneer in a particular area.
Yeah, well, it's just more. Okay, well, that's another conversation, right?
And for you, Claude, what would you do with handle dramatic changes?
I guess focus back on the big picture and goals
Okay.
so that you don't lose sight of what you're striving for and don't let it unsettle you.
Okay. So kind of similar to Carol in a way.
Also, yeah, deep breathing and bringing a sense of calmness.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So focusing on your why, focusing on the bigger picture, physically taking things into control by just breathing deeply, calming yourself down, not hyperventilating.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are great. I said for me, I need to create more stay-at-home periods, longer periods of stay-at-home routine periods. I need to hold on to the visualizations. I usually start off the day with 6 cards that I have with pictures on them, saying what my goal is and why I'm aiming at that, and what are my specific goals and what I'm going to contribute to make that happen. And then being structured. So if I'm structured, and I say, okay, this is what I'm going to do on a daily basis. These are the 5 areas I need to achieve in, and whether I feel like it or not, focusing on those 5 areas. Okay, and then the last one, a few reminders I could set up for myself to be my best for people in life could include. Maybe if I just carry on with that, like the visual board that I have, or the 6 visual cards, it includes, like, for example, homes, paying off home loans, and it includes children and what I'd like to include in their lives, and it includes pictures of elephants and dolphins and the Maasai and things like that. So those are great reminders for me. And the other way that I create a reminder is being accountable. So I have a Excel spreadsheet where I actually record how am I doing in each particular area on a daily basis. So for that gives me sort of accountability as well as feedback, as to which area I need to focus on more. Anybody else got any ideas for reminders? I know Brendan Borchardt had those things that pop up on your phone. I haven't done that because I have no idea how to make anything pop up on my phone. But anybody else, like an alarm goes off and something pops up, I have no idea how you do that. Anybody else got any ways of setting reminders?
Yeah, I didn't have anything quite so technical as you with your visual cards, but I think for me, it's actually quite simple. I just try and remind myself continually just to be myself. It's fine. It's okay. Because it can be it's quite overwhelming. A lot of what I find, a lot of what's coming my way, quite overwhelming, and it's fine. Just be yourself. Fine. I say that to myself quite often, actually. So maybe that's a reminder.
That's good. I think you'll very much identify and value the next practice that we will do next week. That really builds into that. So, and Claude, I know you were about to say something as well.
Yes, I also have a vision board which I printed out and stuck on the door, which reminds me daily of what my goals are.
Great. That's great. On the door is somewhere where you definitely see it all the time.
And just, I guess it'd be good to actually set reminders to do deep breathing. I find that I hold my breath a lot and get like anxiety or like tension build up, and I need to remember to like breathe properly. So
okay, how would you set a reminder? Would you like put it as a note on your computer screen, or how would you do that?
I think a Google Calendar reminder will be good.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for all those contributions, and I really enjoyed this section. Actually, it felt very valuable. and look forward to carrying on doing the last little bit. Oh, I keep saying that. I think it's the last little bit on raising necessity next week. So hope you have an awesome week and put into practice all these wonderful solutions that we've come up with tonight.
Cool. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.